When a corporation dictates a massive physical expansion, the ambition is meaningless without the physical bodies required to execute it. Personnel planning serves as the critical operational link bridging a company's high-level board ambitions to its actual ground-level capabilities. This structural diagram maps how an employer's overall strategic plan dictates every subdepartment. The strategy cascades downward, dictating financial, production, and crucially, HR plans. These plans the specific mechanisms, personnel forecasts, targeted recruitment campaigns, and structured selection plans. If leadership fails to mathematically link their top-level strategy to these precise headcount forecasts, any operational expansion will either collapse under severe labor shortages or bleed capital through financial bloat. A common misconception is that recruitment is designed to gather as many applicants as possible. In reality, it is a rigorous filtering mechanism built for exclusion. This flowchart visualizes the recruitment and selection process as a descending sequence of strategic filters. The system begins with employment planning and forecasting. Deciding exactly what positions need to be filled must always precede candidate outreach. Once a pool is gathered, candidates are forced to clear a series of deliberate hurdles: application forms, diagnostic tests, and supervisor interviews, specifically designed to screen out the vast majority of the applicant pool. The structural integrity of this entire hurdle system relies on accurately predicting the future volume of the business, using economic models of supply and demand. Before HR professionals can erect these recruitment hurdles, they must first calculate the mathematical equilibrium of labor supply and demand to know who to target. Corporate labor demand is never a guess. It is a derived metric calculated strictly from expected business volume or revenue. The most basic time series observation is trend analysis, which maps out past employment levels to establish a rough historical baseline. However, trend analysis has severe limitations. It assumes variables like worker productivity and output efficiency remain completely static over time. Organizations use ratio analysis to forecast demand based on the historical relationship between a causal factor and required employees. Looking at the lower entries, if one worker yields 6,000 kilograms per year, a higher production target dictates an exact multiple of required new hires. When dealing with larger expansions that involve multiple shifting variables, HR departments must map the data visually to find the correlation. This scatter plot graph is used to identify the specific relationship between a facility's physical size and its staffing needs. By plotting historical data from hospitals of various sizes, analysts can draw a trend line that establishes the baseline relationship between bed count and registered nurses. If the hospital plans to expand to a 1,200 bed capacity, the trend line dictates a precise forecast of exactly 1,210 registered nurses required to operate it. These demand forecasting tools serve as the translation devices that turn abstract corporate growth targets into concrete budgeted headcount requirements. Once demand is mathematically established, the organization must audit its existing internal talent inventory before allocating capital toward external recruitment. Modern enterprise organizations utilize computerized HR information systems to actively track the work experience, product knowledge, and formal education of thousands of employees. To map executive talent, organizations use the Management Replacement Chart. A dual-metric system uses triangles for present performance and squares for future promotion potential. For example, D. Jones has a blue square indicating immediate promotion readiness, while J. Abel's purple square indicates required rotational training. To calculate the exact statistical probability of these employees successfully moving upward through the feeder positions over a set time period, analysts apply an advanced mathematical matrix known as Markov analysis. Mapping internal candidates is heavily prioritized because they carry lower orientation costs, provide proven performance data, and help maintain high organizational morale. By auditing existing personnel, HR transforms a static employee roster into a highly predictable, mathematically measurable pipeline of future leaders. Eventually, the parallel tracks of forecasted labor demand and mapped internal supply collide. This human resources planning model details how that intersection is managed. The forecasted supply data and the forecasted demand data merge directly into the central gap analysis block. Comparing these numbers yields one of three mathematical realities: a labor equilibrium, a labor surplus, or a labor shortage. When the gap analysis projects a severe labor shortage that internal talent cannot cover, the organization must execute an external market solution. Before launching that hiring campaign, HR must scan macroeconomic variables, mapping out general economic conditions and expected government unemployment rates to gauge market difficulty. The gap analysis acts as the definitive mathematical trigger. This forces the transition of HR from an internal planning unit into an aggressive external market acquisition force. When an organization moves into the external market, the discipline pivots immediately from mathematical forecasting to targeted high-stakes marketing. A strategic job advertisement does not exist to attract everyone. It is built to actively repel unqualified applicants while compelling highly qualified candidates to apply. To construct these filters, professional recruiters utilize the AIDA psychological framework. An effective advertisement requires 4 sequential pillars. It must generate attention, build interest, create desire, and prompt immediate action. This real-world job advertisement for a plant controller illustrates how the framework is deployed in the field. In the attention phase, the large, bold headline instantly challenges the reader, cutting through market noise to secure their focus. To build interest, the copy asks if the reader wants to be a strategic business partner rather than a classic bean counter, specifically hooking the ambition of the target professional. It creates desire by listing rigorous high-level qualifications, framing the difficulty of the role as an elite professional challenge. Finally, it demands action by requiring applicants to answer a specific strategic question in their cover letter. This serves as the very first mechanical hurdle in the company's selection pipeline. Personnel planning operates as a continuous, rigorous system. It begins with abstract corporate strategy, is quantified through the strict mathematical forecasting of supply and demand, and concludes with precise psychological targeting to acquire the exact human capital needed to make those operations a reality.